You don't need an I to do anything. Hello, this is Shores of Infinity with your host Chris speaking, and today about Tony Parsons' sentence, you don't need an I to do anything. That's a hell of a sentence. You don't need an I to do anything. Why not? And who's doing it? If there's not an I doing it, who's doing it? Well, you don't need an who to do anything either. A few years ago, when I heard Tony Parsons say this, I thought I understood what he was saying. But the problem was, of course, there was still an I, there was still a who, there was still a mind, who thought he, she, it understood what Tony Parsons said and meant with this. This was a mistake I didn't understand back then, and right now, of course, it's very difficult to say this in language. In most languages, you need a subject and an object, so I have to say I. I understand now what Tony Parsons said. Of course, this is not correct, but still, it is possible. It is actually possible for the ego, for the mind, for the I to dissolve. The ego is not a bad thing. It's an identification. It's an identification with your story, with your lifetime story, with your pain and with your emotion, with your drama and your trauma, all the good and bad things, the ups and downs, your history. A story is a history that you've been telling yourself and others again and again and again. And of course, the traumatization and splitting into different parts. Actually, this I is not one I, it's a kindergarten. It's many, many, many eyes. And sometimes this I, this aspect is at the surface playing I, and sometimes it's another. But we are so used to this multiple personality disorder, somehow, it is in a way, that we don't even notice when these aspects change. And all of these things we call I, because we're somehow used to it, to them. And we think that this I, this conglomerate of I aspects, of personalities, of mind and emotion and instincts, this is what is deciding something. The feeling of agency. I am doing this. I am deciding this. I am suffering this. I am enjoying this. Actually, what there is the body in its material and energetical aspects or manifestations, and also in its mental causal manifestation, which we're usually not aware of. We're aware of the material aspect and to some degree also the energetical, subtle, vital aspect. The emotions and the dreams and the instincts are part of this. And feeling stuff. Like I feel good, I feel bad, things that we cannot put into words well. This is all the part of the energetical, vital plane, the subtle world. But we're usually not aware of the mental causal world. Still, the body in these three aspects, in these three realms and planes, will work by itself. You don't need an I for this. The body will go on functioning like a robot. You don't even need another I-ish thing to observe this. It'll just go on functioning, sleeping, eating, defecating, working, lounging, chilling, enjoying, suffering, thinking, feeling, and so on. But what you don't need for it is an I, and least of all, a whole kindergarten of split personality I's. Unfortunately, this cannot be understood in any way until you experience it. This thing here talking is experiencing it presently, somehow, without an observer. There's no experience of agency, there's no experience of I, and there's no experience of an observer who experiences this I-lessness either. There is nothing neither. Either, neither, nothing, anything. And this proves the point that you don't need an I to do anything. Unfortunately, like with most spiritual pieces of wisdom, golden nuggets, they are basically useless until you experience them. And then the only use is that you're not completely surprised or scared by them because you heard, that's what he or she meant all those years ago. So, there you go. Here you are. Thank you for watching and liking and subscribing and joining me as a Patreon. And thank you for those who have already joined this channel as a Patreon. And screw the language because it limits what can be put into language, into words. As soon as you formulate something in words, it's already wrong, as Lao Tzu already explained in his Tao Te Ching. See you soon, or not so soon, because there's really nothing right now he, she, it needs to say, wants to say, has to say.